I think we're good to go. I think we've overcome some of the technical problems. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dan Lewis. I'm here to moderate this session with a range of eminent people on the panel here. If you look in your program, you'll see that this is called City Services for Security and Emergencies. The definition that's on your agenda is that urban resilience refers to the urban capacity to provide better emergency services, police, fire, and health in any given conditions, and what technological infrastructures are required to provide these services. And what we have here is a wide range of people with deep experience in developing ICT, communications, feedback systems, in monitoring city systems that not just related to security, but also to logistics and transport and telecommunications, rail systems, that type of thing. My name is Dan Lewis. I work for the United Nations Human Settlements Program, UN Habitat. I have about 20 years experience in working with cities on disaster risk reduction and resilience building. I'm based in Kenya, sort of. I'm just opening an office in Barcelona this week to host a city resilience profiling program. It's a major, big program of UN Habitat. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on talking to you. I want to get right to the point here, and we'll start with asking Dr. Yasuo Utsumi from the Sendai National College of Technology. He's a professor and doctor of engineering and vice president of the Higashi-matsushima Smart Community Project, operating in the aftermath of the great East Japan earthquake in Tohoku and Sendai region of Japan. Dr. Utsumi, please.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. I'm Yasuo Utsumi, coming from Japan, and it's my pleasure to make presentation here. And on behalf of Japanese people, so I would like to appreciate you and your countries according to your very precious supports. And my field is actually architecture, environmental engineering, and building equipment, and particularly so the energy simulation. And today, I'd like to talk about three contents: the damages and the city status at the starting point. And the second is the framework of future city project in terms of the safety, environment, energy, and the super-aged society. And the project schedule and the structure of organization for the management. And here you can see the figures. The blue star means the earthquake center. And the Higashi-matsushima city that I was working with is a red circle. And you can see the Japanese main island. And the magnitude is 9.0, and they are the largest in the recorded history of Japan. And then, for example, the runs move east to the United States at the maximum of 35 meters. And you can see the disaster area, Islamic City. And in Onagawa town, you can see the reinforced concrete building fell down. And here's the status of Higashi-matsushima city. The left side is just after the earthquake, and the right slides are current state. You can see almost so recovered, it seems, but actually there are many issues to be recovered. And you can see, for example, at the right bottom part, you can see the temporary houses. And this is a classification of the damage by the earthquake. There are three: seismic motion. In effect, very small damage from motions, because the Japanese building code is so good to prevent the breaking from the seismic motion. But tsunami, so we didn't think how much tsunami would give the damage. It was very, very big damage. And the third one, the radioactive material. You know, the nuclear power plant in Fukushima Prefecture was hit by tsunami, and still they are exhausting radioactive materials. And the characteristics of damages, it's spreading into broad area, of course. And the difference between Pacific Ocean side and Japan seaside is quite different. In other area very close to the earthquake center, but still there's no power failure. It was very safe. And third one is a chart of infrastructure for long term. We have a shortage of materials, information, energy, so it means that there's no food, no working machines, and no gasoline. And last one is long term for the recovery. So Miyagi Prefecture, so are thinking probably it's more than 10 years will take to recover. And so that means that smart city must be self-sustainable at least for a week in terms of food, energy, and etc. And on site, there are some tasks. And first one is the disaster prevention system covering the city. There's a budget, yes, but the budget is for the just recovery. Not, it is not clear that it would work in the next earthquake or next disaster. And the second one is surveillance system covering the temporary house. It is not feasible to check the situation of almost 2,000 people scattering over 21 districts. The Higashi-matsushima city has 100 square kilometers. It's impossible. And the age composition in Higashi-matsushima city, so all the people over 65 years, it occupies around 20%, and out of 42,000 people. And unfortunately, the solitary death in temporary house has occurred. And there's a project, national project, Future City Project of Japan, and driven by the government. The idea is before the disaster, and after that, so we need some resilient city against disaster. And the Higashi-matsushima city, including 6 cities, were admitted as future cities in disaster areas. And then before that, so 5 cities were admitted as a future city. For example, Yokohama City has made some presentation this morning, I think. And the idea is that if we are successful, and then we can disseminate the unique best practice from each of these cities to the world. And let me talk about the framework of Future City Project in terms of the safety, environment, energy, and the super-aged society. That the program is common to the many countries. And Future City Plan of Higashi-matsushima City is middle column. Of course, so before admitted as a future city, so Higashi-matsushima City has its own recovery project. That is the yellow part. And there are 4. And we have to make some corresponding relationship. And as a future city, we divide it into 3 sections. One is disaster prevention and disaster measures. Probably this is a part of governmental activities. The second one is aging society with fewer children measures. And the third one, the environmental measures. And the second one and the third one is a must. So the population is decreasing because of the disaster, and there's no emerging industry. It's a very serious problem. And we made hope introduced by Dan. introduced by myself, and the HOPE had 3 sections, and the red part is first one, the environment, low carbon city and energy saving, and the second was the elderly. We need some local medical services, and the third one is disaster prevention, and vision is a sustainable growth, safety, and civil satisfied and compact size. And the evaluation measure is we have a CASB as a national estimating tool, and also we have many projects according to the 3 sections. And the idea to be achieved is like this. It's the model of smart community. We have 4 categories in brief: new industries, and disaster prevention and countermeasures, and the medical network, and the independent power supply system. In fact, we put every item in it, and we try everything that we can. And all the 4 categories are combined by the energy network and information network. And project schedule and structure. It's stakeholders, we assume there's a government, local bodies, city council, private companies of different sizes, academic organization like me, and NPO and NGO. And it's a citizen is the most important. And HOPE, we established a HOPE. It's a Higashi-matsushima Organization for Progress, and E. E means economy, education, energy, and so on. And the HOPE organization has 3 teams according to the Future City project. It's the elder person provision team from right to left. The middle one is the environmental provision team and the disaster prevention team. And at first, there are many sizes of private companies, and we didn't know what to do because they are hit by earthquake also. So we are weak. So we started to get together. And this is a roadmap from 2011 to 2025 at this moment. And now the 2013, and almost we are at the end of first phase. And at this moment, 27 projects are undergoing. And but you know, the circumstance in the Japanese economy and the cabinet has changed last year. So we have to make some rearrangement of the projects. And this is a remarks. I have told about the framework of Future City projects in terms of the safety, environment, energy, and the super-aged society. And the schedule and the structure of organization, HOPE, for the management. And at this moment, the goal is to achieve the innovation in that area and create the job in Higashi-matsushima city area. Thank you for your attention. I saved the time.
Thank you very much, Yasuo-san. I didn't mention earlier, but what I'd ask your forbearance in is to listen to the presentations, take note of questions that you might want to ask the presenters, and we'll try to set aside as much time as we can at the end of all of the presentations for your interaction with the panel. We have the luxury of being the last event in the day, and I think even though we started a bit late, I think we have an opportunity to perhaps go on and as long as everybody is still awake up here. Let me now introduce Pedro Paulo Carvalho, the Secretário, Chefe de Casa Civil in the city of Rio de Janeiro. He will talk to you a bit about an innovative new system of monitoring communication, logistics in the city, throughout the city of Rio de Janeiro. And he represents one of several presentations you'll hear this afternoon of the use of ICT in monitoring urban systems and feedback and communication flows into various different operation centers and sit centers in the cities that will be illustrated in the presentation. Mr. Carvalho.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to stay here, but sorry, but I speak in Spanish for the better presentation. No? Gracias por la asistencia a este painel. Y yo vengo de Río, de la ciudad de Río, de la municipalidad de Río, para hablar un poco de nuestras experiencias con catástrofe, con emergencia, con cómo son los sistemas operativos de Río, ¿no? Porque lo que tenemos siempre en mente cuando hablamos de Río de Janeiro, pensamos siempre en la ciudad que sea la ciudad de los carnavales, la ciudad del lifestyle, de la Jornada Mundial de la Juventud que ha tenido Río este año, de los réveillons, que son los Año Nuevo, con 3 millones de personas en Copacabana, la playa de Ipanema, pero Río no es solamente esto, ¿no? Río tiene problemas muy grandes, porque nosotros en Río tenemos 2 estaciones, ¿no? El verano y el verano muy caliente, ¿no? Entonces, todos los años, desde diciembre hasta abril, aún más, siempre estaciones con muchísimas lluvias. Y el relevo de Río, porque que nosotros siempre imaginamos el relevo a partir de las playas, ¿no? De Ipanema, Copacabana, imaginamos que Río sería solamente un gran litoral. Pero Río tiene 40% de su territorio es una floresta tropical, una más grande floresta urbana del mundo. Entonces, y un relevo muy accidentado y que genera preocupaciones muy grandes con el hecho de las lluvias. Y en 2010 hemos tenido una lluvia muchísimo fuerte y que se han muerto casi 60 personas con los deslizamientos que tuvimos, y principalmente en las favelas de Río. Entonces, hubo una iniciativa que fue crear el Centro de Operaciones de Río, una parcería con IBM. Construimos un centro de operación que hoy es los centros de operaciones que tienen, no sé si es lo más, pero tiene una infraestructura instalada muy grande y el compartimiento con muchos órganos, muchas instituciones, casi 30 órganos están todos los días en el centro de operaciones monitorando la ciudad, monitorando las diversas partes. Yo sé que todos están un poco cansados por el día lleno de hoy, pero voy a poner un vídeo del centro de operaciones que creo que va a ser un poquito más entretenido y que va a pasar un poco la idea del centro de operaciones. El vídeo.
Ha salido tu presentación, pero ¿tiene audio el vídeo?
Sí.
Vale, ahora hay que entrar en tu presentación. ¿Dónde está el keynote que tenías?
El keynote, yeah.
¿No abre?
No, no abre.
Ah, está en otra pantalla.
Pulsation, people, rhythm, work, beauty, energy. Day and night, 24 hours. This city never stops and must not. And that's why the Rio de Janeiro City Hall created the Rio Operations Center in the neighborhood of Cidade Nova. The Operations Center is a modern decision-making environment that operates 24 hours per day, 7 days per week. The heart of the project is found in the control room. It is here that the 400 operators alternate during different shifts to monitor what's happening in Rio de Janeiro. Over 900 City Hall and partner agency cameras installed at strategic points supply images that are viewed on this big screen made up of 80 monitors. Equipped with the latest technology, the Operations Center joins in a single site more than 30 agencies directly involved with the municipality's operational routine. The control room team issues operational briefings 3 times per day. There are meetings to discuss the city's problems and come up with integrated solutions.
Nós criamos o briefing operacional para nivelar conhecimento, para fazer com que todo mundo soubesse o que o outro está vivendo. Cada representante de órgão entra com um assunto e sai com um conjunto de assuntos.
The Operations Center assists Rio de Janeiro with its daily routine, with the planning of major events, and during emergency situations such as strong rains, traffic accidents, blackouts, and mudslides. Prevention and information. The City Hall invested in the latest technology to forecast the weather and was a pioneer in acquiring a radar for the exclusive purpose of preventing flooding and mudslides. Installed in the area of Morro do Somaré, this radar produces important data that the meteorologists at the Alerta Rio use to more precisely forecast the rains that may affect the city. The City Hall installed sirens along the slopes with a risk for mudslides. If the radar detects strong rains in these regions, the alert system is triggered at the Rio Operations Center, instructing residents to leave these sites and take shelter at the support points. The registered residents also receive the alert via text message on their cellular phones. At the Rio Operations Center, communication is treated strategically. Through the social networks, the population receives real-time updates about the events occurring in the city that can affect citizens' routine. From an exclusive room, the press also has access to all of the monitoring, and journalists then disclose the information through the main media. This allows citizens to stay constantly informed.
Aconteceu acidente na Avenida Brasil, pista central, sentido centro, nas mediações de Parada de Lucas, entre ônibus e táxi.
Giving them a fast response to any change in Rio de Janeiro's routine. When some serious situation is detected in the city, it is here, in the crisis room, that the mayor, secretaries, and other agents meet to make decisions. The mayor's residence and civil defense have a direct connection to this room. The heavy investment in the team and technology make the Rio Operations Center a global reference in the city's planning and operations. With all of these services taking place in an integrated fashion, local residents know that Rio is becoming a better city, an intelligent city.
O centro de operações permite que tenha gente olhando para todos os cantos da cidade 24 horas por dia, 7 dias da semana, que era o que não acontecia. Então isso aqui para mim é um sonho realizado. Desde o dia que eu entrei na prefeitura, eu sonhava em ter esse espaço para a cidade do Rio de Janeiro, para as pessoas, principalmente isso, as pessoas saberem que elas estão sendo cuidadas.
All of this because Rio de Janeiro cannot stop.
Bueno, y el vídeo es muy completo, pero si puedo resumir hoy el centro de operaciones, podría resumir en 5 puntos esenciales, ¿no? Que es la gran tecnología instalada, sea de hardware, sea de software, disponible y compartilhada con todos los órganos que están en el centro de operaciones. Más de 30 órganos sentados todos los días en el centro de operaciones. El segundo punto es protocolos. Hay protocolos definidos para los diferentes tipos de acciones que existen en la ciudad, desde una lluvia intensa, sea de un evento que se repite y que se acumula la memoria de estos eventos, de cómo se actuar en cada una de estos eventos o de un determinado problema que tiene la ciudad. La tercera cosa es treinar a la gente. Hay que combinar con los ciudadanos. Imaginar una ciudad de 6.300.000 personas, donde 1,5 millones de personas viven en las favelas, en los slums. Entonces, y que estas favelas tienen el más alto grado de riesgo de deslizamiento, de problemas por el hecho de las lluvias. Entonces, nosotros tenemos 5.300 agentes que son treinados para, en un problema como por ejemplo de la lluvia, sacar cada persona de su casa. Por ejemplo, las personas con deficiencias, tenemos desde el centro de operaciones, nosotros sabemos exactamente dónde están cada persona con deficiencia en cada una de esas favelas, y cada persona de esta tiene un protocolo específico de evacuación y en caso de una lluvia fuerte que genere riesgo. Entonces, la parte de entrenamiento humano también es muy importante. Hasta hoy ya lo treinamos todas las comunidades que están monitoradas desde el centro de operaciones. La inteligencia, colocar inteligencia con el hardware instalado, con toda la tecnología disponible, cómo generar inteligencia suficiente para hacer soluciones para la ciudad. Y otro punto importante que es la colaboración del ciudadano. Es importante también compartir con el ciudadano el cotidiano de la ciudad. Y en estos 2 puntos me gustaría hablar de, por ejemplo, ustedes vieron que el centro de operaciones tiene casi 1.000 cámaras de vigilancia en toda la ciudad. Pero para poder haber soluciones para el tráfico intenso que hay en Río, como en muchas otras ciudades, hay que compartir informaciones. Por ejemplo, el centro de operaciones fue el primero a hacer una colaboración con Waze, y todos los días pasamos las informaciones del tráfico de la ciudad y recibimos las informaciones que los ciudadanos pasan del tráfico de la ciudad. Y por último, colocar inteligencia. Nosotros hoy hablamos de la memoria un poco que se tiene de los grandes eventos. Este es un video que muestra cómo las personas se deslocan y en el día de Réveillon en Río de Janeiro. Esta es la movilidad no de los transportes públicos, de cada persona con los datos que son generados, por ejemplo, de los móviles, cruzados con los datos que tenemos de los autobuses, para saber cómo planificar un gran evento en la ciudad. Esta es un poco de la preparación que estamos haciendo para ser una ciudad olímpica, una ciudad que ya tiene experiencia de grandes eventos y el centro de operaciones es una plataforma muy importante, sea para gestionar la ciudad por el hecho de los acontecimientos emergentes, sea para coordinar la ciudad con los grandes eventos que Río está acostumbrado a hacer. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much, Pedro. Huge challenge implementing that kind of technology and that kind of a system with a clear and definite target line set by the huge events that will be taking place in the city of Rio de Janeiro in the coming years. Without too much further ado, I'd like to introduce Robert Mainguy. Robert is the Global Business Development Director for Thales, French organization many of you will know. Robert will talk a little bit about the security and safety challenges in using the ICT systems installed in the city of Mexico as a strategy for addressing urban security throughout the city. Robert, I will let you jump right in here.
Dan, thank you very much for that introduction. My name is Robert Mainguy. I work for Thales, where I have a global responsibility to develop the smart city market. I'm very honored to be here with you today to have the opportunity to present to you what we're doing in smart cities. In my presentation, what I would like to do is I'd first like to share with you an overview of what I believe to be the key security and safety challenges facing cities today. And then I'd like to illustrate to you how we help cities overcome these challenges through a presentation of a major urban security project we implemented in Mexico City. So you will see in many ways it's very similar to the project Pedro presented in Rio. So what I believe to be the key security and safety challenges facing cities today, I believe there are 6 key challenges, and I think Pedro listed many of these challenges in his presentation. The first of these challenges is the need for cities to better coordinate all the various agencies in a city that today work in silo. Cities need systems that can ensure that all these agencies work together efficiently so they can better anticipate and respond to various incidents. These incidents can be major crises like the incident we've seen, the tsunami in Japan or the landslides in Rio. So when these major incidents take place, a city needs a center, a security operations center, that can respond to these incidents in a cohesive way and not in silo. Okay? Another key challenge facing cities today is the need for ubiquitous coverage, meaning us being citizens, we want to feel safe no matter where we are in a city. If we take the metro in the morning, taking a tramway in the afternoon, driving our car, attending a conference like this, we want to feel safe in a city. And we can place sensors all around a city, but the output of these sensors need to be integrated into a common security operations center to ensure efficiency and not have these sensors in silo. Another key challenge, and Pedro also mentioned this in his presentation, is to integrate citizens into the overall security system. We all have today our smartphones, we have tablets, we have home computers, so we can play a very active role in being integrated into the security system, uploading information into the system, not just announcing something we've seen, but also sending pictures or video images into the security system to help the security operators better understand the nature of the incident and then respond. Large events, also a very huge challenge for cities. Rio mentioned the World Cup that will be soon coming to Rio. So large events, gathering huge numbers of people in a small area, so high risks that need to be managed. Then lastly, economic development. This summarizes pretty much many issues, meaning all of us want to live in a city that's safe and secure. And if the city is not safe and secure, then human talent, skilled workers won't go to the city, investments won't be made in the city, and so if a city is looking to develop economically, one of the ways to do it is to ensure the city is secure and safe. So how do we overcome these challenges? So Thales, we are a systems integrator in a big systems integrator, a number of activities, and one of them is in security. So we helped Mexico City overcome these challenges. So Mexico City is a huge city, 22 million inhabitants, facing many of the same challenges you've seen here, meaning big city, a lot of crime, but as well having to manage a number of large natural disasters such as floods, landslides, earthquakes. So in 2009, the mayor of Mexico City embarked on a major project called the Ciudad Segura project, for which we were the prime contractor, to enhance and improve the security and safety of Mexico City. So I'd just like to present this project. So the architecture that Thales put in place, being the prime contractor for this project, it's a three-level architecture. The top level, there's the command and control centers. There are 5 C2s at district level. They're managing minor incidents in the city. And then when there's a major incident, the incidents are then escalated to a citywide C4I center in which there are multiple agencies. There's 20 agencies managing and working together harmoniously in the C4I. And then when there's a major incident, they manage the crisis, they manage the incident at that level. The C4Is are then interconnected to a number of sensors throughout the city. There are CCTV cameras, 8,000 CCTV cameras, as well as cameras inside the whole subway system in the city. In addition to that, there are emergency call points throughout the city, which is very innovative, so that citizens, if they see something, they can immediately push a button on the emergency call box and be in contact with an official in the Security Operations Center. There are also license plate recognition systems that we've put in place in the city, which have dramatically reduced the number of cars being stolen in the city of Mexico. You'll see the figure in a moment. In addition to that, we've put in place gunshot detectors. So if someone fires a firearm in the city, that emits a noise, and then we can identify in the system exactly where the gunshot has taken place, and the security forces are then sent to that area. The key functionalities in the system we put in place. I mentioned multiple agencies working together. That is fundamental. And when we worked in putting together this system, we spent a lot of time with the City of Mexico defining the concept of operations, how all these various agencies would work together in a structured manner to better respond to incidents. The system also handles all the call taking. We handle 60,000 calls per day. But it's not just call taking. The citizens are also integrated into the system, similar to what you've seen in Rio, meaning the citizens can connect to a website via their smartphone or from their tablet or home computer and upload information into the system and report incidents. As well, the system manages the incidents through standard operating procedures, what we've put in place, different operating procedures for different types of incidents. I'll skip this. One of the key outcomes of this project is we have been able to reduce the response time of the emergency forces when there's an incident from 12 minutes to 4.5 minutes. That's a very concrete result. And how we achieve this, you can see in the slide incidents that the way they were managed in the old system and how they're managed now in the new system. And basically, It's through, when a call comes in, it's one single number to an emergency service that is then managing the dispatching of all the various emergency forces in the city, and as well sensors that enable the dispatchers to understand the nature of the incident and then dispatch the appropriate resources. Other outcomes of the city, by the way, that's a picture of the main room in the C4I Center in Mexico City. So other key statistics. So this project has been implemented, so the statistics are now available. So crime in the city since 2009 has dropped dramatically by 32%. In addition, I mentioned the stolen cars. 50% of all stolen cars are recovered within 72 hours through the automatic plate recognition system we've implemented throughout the city. And as already mentioned, response time to incidents has been reduced from 12 minutes to 4.5. I'd like to now share with you a video. It doesn't have the good samba music of Rio, but I think it illustrates well the project we've put in place. The presentation, this film is in Spanish. However, you can, I think you all have automatic translation.
Uno de los programas de seguridad más avanzados y complejos del mundo. Este programa tiene la finalidad de prevenir, monitorear y combatir cualquier contingencia de la ciudadanía, disminuir la actividad delictiva, así como hacer frente a eventos provocados por desastres naturales. Facilita la operación conjunta de las entidades gubernamentales dedicadas al cuidado y protección de la ciudadanía, tales como policía, protección civil, procuración de justicia, cuerpos de seguridad y emergencias, entre otros. Mediante el diseño, desarrollo, construcción, instalación y puesta en marcha del centro de control, comando, comunicación y cómputo,
Well, that's not supposed to happen. Especially, it's not supposed to happen in a smart city conference. I don't know why that has stopped. Is there somebody here from the technical team that can restart this video? A security issue. No.
Con el compromiso de contar con una mejor ciudad, una mejor comunidad, mejores espacios públicos y una mejor calidad de vida de los que habitan o transitan.
Bon.
Respuesta coordinada y más eficiente, el C4I4 trabaja en conjunto con los 5 centros de comando y control denominados C2, los cuales controlan y monitorean las cámaras de videovigilancia que se encuentran distribuidas en todo el Distrito Federal, incluyendo las del sistema de transporte colectivo Metro. Reciben llamadas de emergencia, gestionan los reportes para coordinar su atención y recaban información que es examinada por los grupos de investigación para generar las acciones contra la delincuencia. Cada centro ha sido dotado de sala de autonomía.
Well, we'll stop here. I don't understand why that's happened. Let me just say that this project that has been put in place in many ways is very similar to the project that's put in place in Rio. It was put in place to deal with natural disasters, put in place to decrease crime, and it's putting in place an operations center that brings together all the various agencies in a city to work together to be able to face these challenges. And that is very, very key to a city. Changing subject slightly, and I'll just conclude in this. Thales is very much involved, as you've seen, in smart security, ensuring that cities become safe, but we're also in the area of mobility, doing the same thing, what we do in security, but also in mobility. In mobility in a city, you have many different agencies. dealing with transport. You have metros, trams, buses, you take your car in the morning. We put in place as well operations centers that transverse and manage all these various forms of operations for transport. So smart mobility in a city. And then going one step forward, we manage and put all these various systems, mobility and security, in a citywide operations center that can then manage all these operations. So I encourage you to visit our stand if you haven't done so. Thank you very much for giving me the time to speak to you today. Thank you.
Very much, Bob. Interesting, the similarities that are emerging between what's happening in Rio, what's happening in Mexico. We're going to just shift a little bit now to introduce you to Mr. Norman Frisch. He's in the business development of Huawei's enterprise business, has a long history in the transport industry, 18 years working in the transport industry. Also going to give us a broader focus on the use of ICT to assist connectivity to services and how Huawei actually approaches the support to cities using this technology in not a specific way, as I understand, Norman, but in a more generic way. Is that correct? Okay. Please, the floor is yours.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can hear me well. It's very difficult to actually hear you from the panel. It's very, very low, and I hope there will be questions at the end of the session. As I said, my name is Norman Frisch. I work for Huawei Enterprise Business Organization. Huawei actually is in the transport sector and in the enterprise sector for quite some time. So in the transport sector, we are supplying since 16 years. Dedicated technology, ICT technology for railways, for metro lines. And we've learned a lot from that experience. And today, I show you actually what we are doing in the market, what we're doing for smart cities, because the technologies railway uses is very much applicable to what a smart city needs. And if you have listened to the panel sessions earlier today, there was a very nice statement made. I forgot the name of the person, but it was said that smart cities are actually built on the back of the transport network. That is very important. If I want to have a smart city, if I want to have an efficient city, it has to be built on a good transport network. Public transport, road network, aviation. So, and this is exactly the business we are in. I give you here a couple of information about drivers for smart city. So, and before going there, we've heard a lot about smart. So what is smart actually? So if you look it up, I actually used Google a little bit, and smart says to have the ability, the capability to do a decision, a human-like decision based on changing circumstances. This is smart. So how can actually a city do a human-like decision based on changing environment, change on environment we have seen here with regards to disasters? So it is all to do with the services, actually the services which I'm able to tap, these services, the information the services deliver to me. I need to have them, I need to operate them, and then actually build a more efficient and cost-effective network. And I show you how a smart city can actually do this. Keeping in mind, so we talked about doing human-like decisions. So how does a human actually do smart decisions? So very important, a human collects a lot of information. We have a lot of sensors built in, and all of them actually are transmitted through a transmission network, which is the spine of the body, into the brain. And inside the brain, we've got the control center, all the different departments we hear, transport sector, the blue lights, police, all of them are there and need that information. So as smarter you want to be, as more information you actually have to feed into your control center. And this is exactly the business Huawei is in. We do ICT technology. We make sure that the information from your existing sensors, whether these are gunshot sensors, are very interesting to see. We're actually working a lot with Thales in different projects, or sensors about number plate recognition. This information needs to be efficiently transmitted into your control center. And inside the control center, I then have the processing and the software and the procedures on how to react smartly to these inputs. So moving on. I give you an example here about a very typical part. So I talked about the spine to transmit the information from one of the gunshot sensors, one of the CCTV sensors into your control center. How do you do that? You can have a long cable and you connect the cable through others and then you send it up to the control center. It's a very well-known way of doing it, but you will have to go through many hurdles. You have to build wires, you have to connect them, you might have to struggle through legacy systems which are already in place and you want to use them. It's turning into a complex situation. Your police departments, the blue lights, most certainly they all have already existing systems and they are purpose-built. They provide exactly what they want and what they need for their specific part. So the police can act actually very, very efficiently and based on that system. But then the fire department has a different system. So how do you get this information together into the control center and make a smart decision? It's a very complex activity. Just here, I show you 3 different sectors. I want to do voice trunking, so push-to-talk functionality, how to do video collection and data collection, how many different wireless networks are there. And to maintain them are very costly. So we talked about the cost efficiency. We need to run a smart city. That means we also have to be careful on spending resources. So we have to have a cost-efficient transmission network. And what we are doing here is actually we apply a technology which is around for quite some time, LTE, long-term evolution, to exactly do this. So LTE is a wireless system which can do push-to-talk, typical trunking functionality like the police does, as well as video transmission. Everything in the same system. I don't need multiple systems. I have one system doing the whole lot at the same time. The system is so efficiently, actually for your CCTV cameras, which are somewhere collecting information from your city, you just use the wireless system to transmit it. You don't need the cable anymore. So the system, as you can see on the bottom right, is actually an evolution from the old legacy systems which have been about in the world for 20 years. And today, the system is so advanced that you actually can collect this information in a very efficient manner. So this is only the spine. Remember the body, the spine, collecting information. But once you got the information, what do you do with it? Actually, we're talking about, it's a very typical term, big data. We actually moved from terabytes into petabytes. A huge amount of data is actually being collected, but how do you manage it? It's actually nowadays a challenge to get a specific piece of data you collected maybe a month ago just to review what it was. So big data is one of the key aspects to look into when you build a smart city. Effectively, not only collect the information, but also very efficiently distribute and process the information. Do number plate recognition. Recognize, is that gunshot maybe just a different noise which has been recognized? That needs to be transmitted. So today we have actually, you collect the data and you see the velocity of the data. Some of the data is actually extremely quickly. It needs to be transmitted and processed immediately. So that's the velocity. The volume, I mentioned the volume, how much volume, how can I efficiently find that data out of my set which I collected a month ago. The value of the data actually indicates how important and how much redundancy you need to actually save the data and to store it. The data is very useful to run your city efficiently. So you need to protect the data in a way of having it redundantly positioned. So the whole data aspect today actually hasn't been really looked at. But again, at the panel session this afternoon, it was said, actually, the data is one of the new natural sources, like water, like air. Data turns into something which is extremely important. It's just like important like having air and water. So, and this is the business we are in and working. I come back to that slide, and on the right-hand side, you see we've slightly changed it. Actually, the important thing is if you want to be a smart city, you have to make sure you efficiently process your data. You have the ability to store and achieve and retrieve the information. And of course, you have to transmit it through the wireless system. So different components here are actually being shown on the slide. And I give you one example. I talked about LTE, and I brought a little bit. I also brought a video, but my video is much smaller. It's not going to stop, because what I've got here is a typical thing you've seen many policemen have it nowadays. It's a trunking mobile station. You do push to talk, and you talk to one person or to many people. But what this thing actually does on top is it transmits videos, it receives videos from our stand, actually, which is outside the door. So the LTE technology today actually can exactly deliver what you were talking about. When I have a disaster, it is very difficult to describe the situation, to demonstrate the situation, and to have the expert at the location. The typical example I take is you've got maintenance people. You don't need to have a disaster. You can have a maintenance. Somebody is doing maintenance on a regular basis. He opens the door of the box somewhere after he's driven for 1 hour to the place. He opens it and sees there's red lamps in there, and he has no idea what the red lamps is because he's there just to change the air filter. So what do? Do you just take that information and say, yeah, we send another guy there to have a look? Or can I actually use the mobile station and show the picture to the control center? And the control center then has the ability to see the cables, to see the lamps, and maybe to conference another person with a similar mobile to show them the video. It's a live video stream. So this is about efficiently working with information, putting it together, putting it into your control center, and then in the control center, you don't need to have everyone there. You only need to have the key guys there, and the real experts, which may be an expert for one cable or two, you can still conference in with the ability of technology available today. And that technology we actually show outside at our stand. I very much invite you to go there and have a look. So we talked about the different services, and I give you, this is a little bit more, a very high level slide. On the bottom side, you see actually the two main drivers, the two main dimensions where technology and telecoms move here. On the left-hand side, we see a move from wireline into wireless. What it actually means is it's not everything is moving wireless. It means people using telecoms, they don't care. They don't mind, is it on a wireline system or is it a wireless system? Both systems have to work exactly the same. I can send Skype calls on the internet when I'm connected on a cable, and I can do the very same on a mobile station nowadays. The same happens for video. Today, the customers expect the same technology. There is no change to be for moving from wireline to wireless. On the right-hand side, if I want to do efficient communication, I talk about push-to-talk, and functionality, trunking functionality, priority preemption for emergency response situations. On the top part, you can see how important on the left side it is to have a converged network. It is very difficult to maintain multiple systems which behave differently in different regions. They are costly and difficult to understand for the people using them. It is more efficient to have a converged network doing actually the same job for all of the other systems in a more efficient way. And once I have that on the top right, I can then actually use the information I have, add my computation to it, and do a smart decision. So, and how do we do this? I've got 2 more seconds. In Tianyang, very simple city. So Huawei is a Chinese company, and China is a country where a lot of urbanization happens. So we have plenty of cities which exactly stuck in the problem. There's more people coming in, and we need to be more efficient in managing the city. So here in Tianyang, it's a 15 million people city. We do exactly this. We provided this LTE system to provide CCTV, to provide communication to the different departments, and to provide information to do smart decisions for the people in the city. Today, the system has already 100 base stations, and we're growing it to 200 base stations in the final design. Here, another example for a metro line, where we provide video surveillance inside the cabs, so inside the passenger trains. Today, most of the passenger trains don't have this, and we have security staff walking through the trains, making sure that nobody is going to be robbed while they are moving in the metro. So this system can, besides many other things, easily do exactly that, providing CCTV and passenger information systems. And that's the last slide. And that is a very simple example on how we provide something like an information island. And this is actually in Norway. It's on an oil platform, which had been, well, without communication. Laying cables to the sea is a very costly thing. And this customer specifically actually used helicopters to provide maintenance and provide operational information into their control centers on a daily basis. It's very, very costly and burns a lot of fuel. What we have actually done is using this ELTE system to beam data broadband onto the platform. It's 37 kilometers away from the land. And suddenly, they had the same type of data services and voice services like you would have at home in your home with your DSL or high-speed internet provider. So these are just the examples I just want to highlight here. And as I mentioned before, I'm more than happy to create at our stand and to demonstrate you the abilities of Huawei in smart city environment. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Norman. Interesting. A million things to gather from that particular presentation, and the one thing that stuck in my head was the principle that gathering data as much as you possibly can is only useful as your capacity to analyze it and make decisions. I'm going to ask you all a question after we listen to a man who wears many hats in Europe and around the world, but who is here in his role on the Scientific Committee of the High Council for Strategic Education and Research of the Government of France. Mr. Carlos Moreno is here to talk, or the Professor Carlos Moreno is here to talk about resilient systems installed in Paris and Nice, and to give us some sense of the approach that's being taken in France in these French cities in terms of a platform for reflecting, gathering, communicating information and data, and monitoring the fragility of cities to the impacts of various kinds of crisis. Carlos, please.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. I'm going to speak in Spanish now for this panel session, City Resilience and Security. Efectivamente, soy miembro del Alto Consejo Científico de la Estrategia de la Investigación en Francia, que depende del Presidente de la República, y soy profesor universitario científico y consejero científico del presidente de una compañía mundial HASEKURAZ, en la cual manejo la visión estratégica sobre la ciudad inteligente, objeto que voy a tratar hoy más sobre el ángulo de las crisis, la resiliencia y la seguridad. La visión estratégica que yo llevo a nivel mundial en las conferencias que presido y otras en las cuales participo se hace bajo el ángulo de lo que yo llamo la Smart City humana, Human Smart Cities. El concepto que desarrollo en la comunidad mundial obedece a la concepción de lo que llamamos vivir en una ciudad viva, live in a living city. Considero que la Smart City no es un objeto tecnológico y que la ciudad no son objetos tecnológicos ni es una competición algorítmica. Considero que la ciudad es, ante todo, la reunión de hombres y mujeres que comparten un territorio para satisfacer necesidades primordiales y principales en las cuales el ciudadano se encuentra al centro. Que estemos en una visión metropolitana, en una visión urbana o aún en una visión de pequeñas ciudades, el objetivo principal es la calidad de vida y el confort de cada uno de los que en ellos habitan. Es lo que conduce a hacer esta concepción de la ciudad viva en la cual es el humano que está al centro, el citizen-centric, los utilizadores en el centro. Esto es importante porque podemos evocar la problemática de las crisis, de la resiliencia en las ciudades bajo un ángulo mucho más global. La problemática de la resiliencia es la principal problemática de las ciudades cuando se analiza a largo término. Y las catástrofes que estamos observando en estos momentos, como el tifón Yolanda hace unos pocos días, lo que pasó en París ayer con una persona que andaba con un fusil tirando por todas partes, los temblores y muchos eventos, hacen que tengamos esa concepción de la ciudad como elemento frágil, como elemento vivo, como organismo humano que se desarrolla en un ecosistema. No olvidemos que todo lo que hacemos a nivel de la seguridad y el confort no solamente es para las crisis, sino para el buen vivir. Esto significa igualmente una sensibilidad ecológica, una alta capacidad de innovación social, una alta presencia de la actividad cultural en la ciudad y, claro está, responder a los retos económicos que son indispensables para el empleo, el territorio y la calidad de vida. Pienso que es alrededor de una concepción de usos y servicios que se proyectan posteriormente en las infraestructuras de la ciudad que podemos analizar correctamente lo que viene en el sentido de manejar las situaciones tecnológicamente con las crisis y lo que ello se puede producir. Cuando hablamos de la expresión de la ciudad como ciudad viva, como living in a living city, ante todo es el sentimiento de vida colectiva y de fragilidad que debe ser indispensable para nosotros. Pedro Paulo hablaba hace unos pocos momentos de Río, en los cuales en 48 horas 4 millones de personas comparten un espacio muy reducido. Pero esto se observa en el mundo entero. Hemos hablado de China, en Shanghái. Esto es una foto reciente de la clase económica media china que descubre la capacidad de ir a sus vacaciones y tenemos cientos de miles de personas que se van al mar. Son fotos reales todas las que estoy presentando aquí. Tenemos igualmente la ciudad frágil en sus tensiones sociales. Esta foto no es tomada en un disturbio en América Latina. Esta foto fue tomada hace poco en París, al lado de la Torre Eiffel, en Trocadero, luego después de un partido de fútbol en el cual los hinchas del Paris Saint-Germain, que estaban perdiendo, no estaban contentos, y los Campos Elíseos, la gran avenida mundial, pues fue durante 24 horas completamente saqueada en momentos de violencia bastante importantes. Esta foto la hemos tomado en Lagos, en una situación que es una situación cotidiana de vida. En Lagos, que es la capital de Nigeria, uno de los países que dentro de 20 años será el más poblado del mundo, con 240 millones de habitantes, esta situación de todos los días no extraña a nadie, y esto no se llama un trancón, se llama un go slow, simplemente. Entonces, esta foto ha sido tomada no en India, donde hace 2 meses hubo un apagón que bloqueó casi durante una semana la mitad de India. Esta foto es tomada en Francia, en el norte de Francia, en Bretaña, y es muy corriente porque a principios del invierno, cuando comienza a caer nieve, hay una gran fragilidad eléctrica en esta zona por problemas de distribución, y generalmente estas fotos de familias que durante casi 2, 3, 4, hasta 5 días permanecen sin electricidad y todo lo que esto comporta. Los riesgos naturales e industriales lo vivimos en la ciudad permanentemente por su propio desarrollo económico, y igualmente no solamente está la tecnología, los riesgos naturales, los riesgos industriales, sino estamos los riesgos económicos. Esta foto ha dado la vuelta al mundo hace poco, y es simplemente el shutdown que se produjo en Estados Unidos y que impidió y que ha creado unas ciertas dificultades de vida simplemente cotidiana, las más naturales, como esta, por ejemplo. Por esa razón es importante razonar en términos de crisis, de seguridad y de emergencias en lo que le llamamos las funciones cruzadas de la ciudad. Hoy en día vivimos en una ciudad que es un sistema de sistemas, como organismo vivo, con este paradigma de la complejidad, que significa que las diferentes funcionalidades, usos y servicios están en completamente interdependencia. Por lo tanto, es necesario razonar de una manera horizontal, con una visión sistémica y con una visión orientada hacia los usos y servicios en las ciudades. ¿Qué es lo que hay de nuevo en las ciudades en el XXI siglo? Es que al lado de la ciudad, de su infraestructura, la urbes, al lado de los ciudadanos que viven en ella, en el espacio público y en la república de las cosas, la política, encontramos un elemento nuevo que es la ubicuidad, que es la revolución del XXI siglo, o sea, la capacidad de hibridar los objetos conectados, el Internet de los objetos, la capilaridad masiva del Internet de las comunicaciones, de la inteligencia embarcada, y que permite efectivamente crear nuevas condiciones alrededor de los usos y de los servicios en los cuales hibridamos el mundo físico con el mundo real. En la gestión de crisis, esto es lo más importante. En la gestión de crisis es ante todo los comportamientos sociales, los comportamientos sociopolíticos que se producen para manejar infraestructuras teniendo en cuenta en situación de crisis y de emergencia el papel que juega el mundo ubicuitario cuando se maneja las nuevas tecnologías de la información que han sido presentadas, pero solamente bajo una visión mucho más sistémica, mucho más de interdependencias. Esto es lo que ha conducido a crear esta visión de plataformas de servicios que ofrecen una capacidad creativa y dinámica social abierta. Las plataformas de servicios en las ciudades permiten crear plataformas para ciudades y ciudades plataformas. No es un juego de palabras, sino es un sentimiento profundo. En la medida en que la ciudad misma es una plataforma y en la medida en que la ciudad tiene la capacidad de crear sistémicamente alrededor de sus infraestructuras, de sus servicios de integración y de sus comunidades, usos y servicios que permiten monitorear, que permiten hacer política abierta de Open Citizen, que permita crear nuevos espacios de trabajo y de hibridación, estaremos anticipando lo propio de la gestión de crisis, que es manejar la continuidad de servicios. La resiliencia no es algo que se descubre cuando los dramas suceden. La resiliencia es una visión social, política, que permite, a través de una cultura, que es la cultura de la continuidad de servicios, crear la capacidad de plataformas urbanas que de una manera transversal puedan responder a los diferentes retos. Estas presentamos acá la videoseguridad, la movilidad eléctrica, la iluminación pública. En Barcelona tenemos todo lo que es en el barrio 22 Arroba, la red de calor y frío que hemos manejado con este concepto de plataforma, produciendo esta visión sistémica en su desarrollo. Voy a hacer un focus, como lo ha dicho Dan Lewis en mi presentación, sobre dos casos más particulares. Uno, más bien, la ciudad de París, que muestra, digamos, esta visión sistémica. Esta es el slide de presentación, y la ciudad de Niza, simplemente porque en Niza hicimos algo que fue interesante en la medida en que mezclamos seguridad, movilidad e igualmente virtualidad. El G20, que es la reunión de jefes de estados, se hizo en Niza, pero había que cubrir todo el territorio del sur de Francia. Entonces creamos un centro de operaciones virtual que federó todos los centros de operaciones de la región durante los 4 días que duró la reunión del G20. O sea que fue una inversión, plataforma virtual, simplemente federando los usos y servicios que eran disponibles en cada una de las regiones. Fue un éxito completo porque es la primera vez en que se crea lo que se llama una plataforma virtualizada, pero en funcionamiento real, asociando entre ellas varias ciudades y varias regiones que responden a consideraciones tecnológicas y de infraestructura diferentes. El ejemplo de París es interesante porque ofrece efectivamente una ciudad capital en la que tenemos hoy en día más de 15.000 cámaras manejadas por una plataforma sistémica concebida completamente alrededor de los usos y servicios. El G20 del que he hablado hace un momento representa menos cámaras, 1.000, pero representa 3 ciudades, completamente distintas. Si la técnica funciona, quisiera rápidamente presentar un pequeño film. Hubo una equivocación cuando se hizo el upload de mi parte y cargué la versión con subtítulos en francés, no está en inglés, pero voy a comentarla rápidamente. Este film presenta cómo hemos concebido el sistema de París y lo hemos llamado otra mirada sobre la ciudad. Es otra mirada porque no se trata simplemente tecnológicamente de decir que vamos a manejar 10.000 cámaras, sino se trata de tener una visión sistémica, qué usos, qué servicios, qué infraestructuras y cómo ellas van a evolucionar en el tiempo, entre hoy, 2 años, 5 años, 15 años, porque el proyecto que se hizo con la ciudad de París es un proyecto sobre 17 años. Firmamos un contrato de 250 millones de euros que durante 17 años nos permite tener una visión sistémica sobre la gestión de la ciudad de París. Construimos una red subterránea de 350 kilómetros de fibra óptica solamente dedicada a todo lo que es la gestión de crisis, la resiliencia, no solamente elementos técnicos de apropiación de lo que pasa en una video, sino de una serie de servicios que se colocan a disposición de un número bastante elevado de utilizadores, más de 3.000, que han sido formados en los usos y servicios que pueden ser disponibles a partir de la extracción de informaciones. Pero no son las informaciones las que se colocan a disposición de las fuerzas, son las fuerzas las que en función de las necesidades solicitan las informaciones para que las informaciones no sean informaciones, sino que ante todo sean conocimientos. Es lo que llamamos la semántica de la ciudad, la capacidad de ver la ciudad con una semántica, con una gramática, con una conjugación que nos conlleve a concebir servicios de calidad. Voy a pasar rápidamente, porque me queda poco tiempo, para mostrar esa capilaridad, esa distribución que representa esta noción de federación, que representa esta noción de agregación. 38 sitios de operación distribuidos completamente, federados, no es centralizados, federados con 2 sistemas en cloud computing que permiten llevar esta situación. ¿Cómo pudimos concebir un programa de estos en París, en Niza, en Cannes, en casi 200 ciudades? En Río de Janeiro, con el Centro de Operaciones de Río, hemos conectado toda la videoseguridad de los buses y de los servicios públicos embarcados en movilidad de los buses hacia el core, y en el core trabajamos en el mantenimiento igualmente. La respuesta está en que manejamos una visión de alto nivel ecosistémica, que está, digamos, en la visión que a nivel del gobierno francés de nuestra estrategia tenemos en el Consejo Nacional de Seguridad y Estrategia al cual pertenezco. Por eso se trata de pensar juntos hacia los riesgos, anticiparlos. Este documento ha sido lanzado hoy en Francia y a nivel mundial. Se llama el Guía Práctico de las situaciones de crisis para los territorios. Este guía fue concebido por un año de trabajo de un colectivo piloteado por nosotros. Tengo el placer de estar aquí dirigiendo esta actividad con más de 50 alcaldes que pertenecen a una federación, y corresponde simplemente a los usos y servicios de la resiliencia y de las crisis al servicio de las colectividades. Está editado en francés, en inglés y en portugués. Simplemente es gratuito y a disposición. No hay ninguna propaganda hacia nadie, no hay ninguna visión tecnocéntrica, es solamente orientado a cómo concebir los usos y servicios en las ciudades para poder manejar ese concepto de plataforma de ciudad y de ciudad-plataforma, con la resiliencia en el corazón de las necesidades socioeconómicas, sociopolíticas, socioculturales. Consideramos que es, como dice Saki Asasen, no es la tecnología la que debe hackear la ciudad, es la ciudad la que debe hackear la tecnología. Y en ese sentido es importante orientarse usos y servicios. Esta presentación está online a partir de este mismo momento en francés y en inglés en mi website, e igualmente accesible a través de las redes sociales. Muchas gracias.